Fanalysis combines the analytics of fantasy football with the metrics of sports betting, providing the sharpest angles. Is a sports handicapper you can find on Twitter as Old Man Who Bets, Geoff Sheasby. Jeff, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Jets are dogs again. The Chargers are favored by 8.5. The public, though, seems to think that line is too high. How do you feel about that?
Steve, it feels like Christmas is coming early here with an opportunity to both fade the public and bet against the Jets. They've been one of the worst teams in the league against the spread all year. Obviously, they're coming off of a big effort from the Patriots. They should have beaten the Patriots. And I think the combination of them potentially should have beating the Patriots combined with the Chargers losing to, the quote, lowly Miami Dolphins is providing a lot of false positives here. I think about both of those teams. The Patriots, their defense right now in terms of defensive efficiency provided by Football Outsiders is currently 32 out of 32. The Pats haven't had a defense this inefficient in years, right? So you combo that and then the greatness of Joe Flacco. Yes, Joe Flacco maybe once was elite. Yes, the Jets are getting healthier. I think this Jets team is trending in the right direction. They could have some solid pieces for the future. But that defense is not the Patriots defense of old. It's not the Patriots defense of even last year. So that makes people think that the Jets are a little bit better than they should be, especially when you consider that the Patriots then go out and beat Baltimore. That makes that loss or that game look that much better. On the flip side here, you've got Miami. And we're not even talking about the teams playing today, right, or on Sunday yet. But, Miami right now is ranked 13th in terms of defensive efficiency and 19th instead of first in offensive efficiency. Both pretty good, on par with where the Chargers are. So people still think Miami is terrible. They're turning the tides as well.
Sure.
So then insert this game. We've got an overreaction to the Chargers last week. We've got an overreaction to the Jets this week. And then we've got a line that's minus 8.5, one of the biggest of the weeks. Vegas clearly thinks that the Chargers are going to bring it this week. So let's look under the hood here, Steve, for a second, right? Offense and defense, yards per play, points per play. The Chargers are dominating both of these. 4.5 yards per play for the Jets on offense, 5.7 for the Chargers. That's huge. The Jets' points per play is 0.227. That's one of the worst in the league. The Chargers is right in the middle of the pack at 0.352. Not great, but not bad. Other side of the ball, we see two teams that aren't particularly good on defense, 6.1 yards per play and 5.6 yards per play. So huge advantage for the Chargers on offense, pretty much the same on defense. But something here that's really glaring on this offensive stat as well. Red zone scoring for the Jets this year, they're only scoring 27% of the time when in the red zone. The Chargers, on the other hand, looking at 62%. So I don't think the Chargers are going to lose to the AFC East twice in a row. I think the only thing that could even be construed as equally as embarrassing would be losing to the NFC East twice in a row. But nonetheless, strong line, fading the public on a Jets team that is riding as high as they will be all season. I think is a perfect time to take the Chargers at minus 8.5.
And I don't think that red zone scoring percentage number can be underscored enough because the Chargers at 62%. Not exactly top of the class. That's like 80%. They're middle of the pack, and they're still twice as good, more than twice as good as the Jets. That's how bad the Jets are in scoring in the red zone, and that has to be such a key factor, especially when you're looking at a spread that's a little bit larger than a touchdown.
Yeah, I completely agree. You combo that with the fact that the Jets are only converting third downs at 31%, and this is a team that struggles to move the ball, struggles to keep drives alive, and struggles ultimately, to put the ball in the end zone. So I think it's going to be a long day for the Jets. I think the Chargers bounce back in a big way, and who knows, maybe the Jets do go 0-16 this year.
Man, I tell you what, a few weeks ago I didn't think it was possible, but now I don't want to even think about it. All right, we have, by the way, have been keeping an eye on the Giants and their NFC East chances, which it started off as a little humorous a few weeks ago when we looked at it because they were at plus 1,600 to win the NFC East. Last week, it moved to plus 1,000. Now it's at plus 300. Are you in yet? Are you buying that the Giants are going to win the NFC East?
I'm buying that they've got a great chance to win the NFC East and have been buying that for a couple weeks. A couple weeks ago, talking with Jared, who obviously frequents this show as well from the Sports Grid. He thought it was a great bet back then. And essentially what we determined is a coin flip, right? If you have two teams and one is plus 10 to 1, that feels pretty good on what's, potentially a 50-50 play. So let's look at last week for a second, right? Obviously, it's the Eagles versus the Giants. Those are the two teams fighting for the division here. Thankfully, was on both the Giants +4 and the Giants second half +5.5 to get me 2 wins on them, a team that I have been betting wrong against all season. But nonetheless, let's think about this 50-50% chance, which then, if you do assume that that's true, that puts 300 at still pretty good value. Yards per play, points per play. On offense, Philly is averaging 5 yards per play. The Giants are averaging 5 yards per play. The Philly is averaging 3.341 points per play. The Giants 0.318, both very, very close there. And it's almost symmetrical on the other side of the ball. 5.1 yards per play allowed by Philadelphia, 5.6 for the Giants. And the Giants actually have a slight lean in terms of improvement on points per play, 0.368 versus 0.379. So all those things look pretty good. You know, coin flips all around. That was the analysis I used to bet the Giants last week. They come out and win that game. Sure, Philadelphia is hurt, and so were the Giants for most of this season. The Giants are getting healthy. More weapons on offense means hopefully less turnovers for Danny Dimes. But nonetheless, these are two teams that are struggling, as the entire division is. But I think, again, at that coin flip, Steve, that the Giants at +300 do feel pretty good.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, since we're on this, since we're looking at the future here for the Giants NFC Championship chances are at +7,000. And if you're feeling really bold, Super Bowl chances +13,000. How bold would you get with the Giants? Are you stopping at just the division? maybe just the division?
I'm for sure stopping at just the division here. And, you know, a couple other points, Steve, honestly, that I think makes this bet pretty good. When we look at common opponents from the Eagles and the Giants, you know, very similar as well. Washington, Philly lost by 3. The Giants beat them twice, once by 3, once by 1. We look at the Rams lost, Philly lost by 18. The Giants only lost by 8. We look at Pittsburgh,
Okay.
Philly lost by 9. The Giants lost by 10, right? Again, very similar outcomes here. And I'll leave you with this. Well, actually, I'll say one thing before I leave you with that. If Philadelphia loses this week to Cleveland, the Giants will only be a half game out of first in the league, coming off a bye, well-rested to close out the season. That's very interesting. That makes me like +300 more. But what I'll leave you with here, Steve, is a quote from Coach Joe Judge, taking it right out of the Belichick playbook, talking about he's not worried about the standings. I quote, "The only thing that matters is we keep improving as a team and go 1-0 every week. The overall standings, we're not going to look at those. We're not going to focus on those. That's not an emphasis in our organization. We've got to keep improving to give ourselves a chance to be the best program that we can be." I love that. I love that they're dialing down into week. They're only taking next week's opponent into consideration. They're going to do their best, and their best, quite frankly, has improved as the season's gone on. So I feel like I'm riding the momentum with the Giants, which is something I haven't said a lot this season, but they do look like they're improving. It looks like a 50-50 coin toss between these two teams. And if you're going with a 50-50 coin toss, you got to go with the plus odds at the Giants +300.
Geoff is riding the Judge train. Thank you so much for all of your insights for that. That's a look at Fanalysis this week. For Geoff Sheasby, I'm Steve Overmyer. Thanks for watching Fanalysis.